will now move to a very tough part of first rounds where it's picks 7 through 12. How does this shake out? How do you rate the rest of these guys? And to me, it starts here with a run of wide receivers that are so hard to sift through. So I'm going to put in the guys at least. I'm just going to toss them in there, and I'll just kind of say no particular order for now, and we'll kind of debate how to sift through these 4. And then, I'm going to put him in there for now. Puka's often in this conversation, but to bury the lead, the spoiler, I actually don't believe he belongs in round 1, at least as things stand today. So we're going to dive into that as well. But these 5 wide receivers are often who go next. You have these running backs as well in terms of Henry, Achane, and Genty. That do I take a receiver over? Those absolute beasts. That's also a tough question to answer too. But at number 7 for me, it is the guy that I put in first. And to me, I do think he's at least, I'd even consider potentially putting him in to this next tier, but we'll keep him here for now. He hasn't quite earned that stripes. If he has 2 back-to-back years like what he did his rookie season, I don't see why he wouldn't. He'll be in the conversation for there. And that's Malik Nabers. What an insane rookie year this guy had. While catching passes from Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito and Daniel Jones, this guy still was absolutely insane. A wide receiver 6 finish despite missing 2 games on the year. Stole the NFL rookie wide receiver receptions from Puka Nacua, 109. Ultimately was also stolen by Brock Powers, the tight end, later in the year. A great pick himself. But ultimately, Nabers topped. He had a 34% target share, which is the best in 3 years, finishing second to Chase in total targets as well, 170 targets. And he again missed 2 games, and he still was second in the NFL in total targets. He saw 7 targets in week 1, and that was his season low. He only went up from there. He had 10 or more targets in 9 of 15 contests, 13 or more targets in 6 games. He topped 30% target share in all but 3 games per RotoViz. He had a 67% target share in week 2 last year, which is insane. And of course, your volume, when you get the volume, the production typically follows, especially when you're as talented as Nabers, one of the best prospects, again, to come in the league in so long. That LSU wide receiver university is insane. He had 18.2 fantasy points per game. That is 3rd all-time among any rookie receiver. Odell Beckham, Randy Moss, and then Malik Nabers. Jamar Chase right under him. Bolden, Puka Nacua, Jefferson, Michael Thomas, Brian Thomas, who we're about to talk about, and Mike Evans rounding out that list. So pretty elite company to be a part of, not only be a part of, but to be the 3rd best among. And that was with a clown show of quarterbacks. And I hate Russell Wilson. You know that. And one of those, such an annoying guy. But he has to be considered an upgrade to anything that they rolled out last year. And to me, the true upside, like that boosts the floor a bit for Malik Nabers, which is already so high because of the volume. But then if Russ sucks, like I think he will, we have Jackson Dart, or the world of all worlds, the best thing that could happen would be Kingmaker Jameis Winston taking over as the backup quarterback. There's rumblings. They don't tweet a lot about this, but some of the Giants people I know have said like the team loves Jameis Winston in terms of the teammates. Like everybody's rallying.
Everybody loves Jameis Winston.
Who doesn't love Jameis? He's the absolute best. Now, ultimately, it's the coach's decision. It does seem like they've kind of promised Russ he's going to start, and they're going with him no matter what. But everybody there seems to be all about Jameis Winston right now. And I honestly do think like if Winston was the quarterback for however long he is the quarterback, Nabers would only be ranked below Jamar Chase for me. Like he would be my clear number 2 wide receiver, above CeeDee Lamb, above Justin Jefferson, if you told me Jameis Winston was going to be playing every single game this year. That's just how I mean, Jerry Jeudy was like the wide receiver 3 in fantasy for his games with Winston, and Jeudy stinks. Like, I mean, maybe he doesn't stink, but I think he's very overrated. Did nothing all season when Jeudy did not have Jameis Winston last year. We saw, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin be wide receiver 2 and 3 in fantasy, where they had Jameis just chucking the rock all over the place. So I would die a happy man if we could have Jameis Winston be quarterback there. But even if not, like Russ is still going to be a leap above. And Jackson Dart, the exciting rookie, threw that 30-yard touchdown in the first preseason. Looks like he belongs. To me, it's just a perfect system where Nabers is going to get funneled looks. He's going to easily threaten 350 fantasy points no matter who his quarterback is. Just a matter of, like, does he approach 400 because he's got Jameis or Jackson Dart being the real deal. Right. So to me, Nabers is the clear one. there. Would you disagree at all? I haven't really laid out my case for anybody else, but
no, I mean, with me, it's between him and one other guy, but I would probably lean him. I will push back a tiny bit, and I feel like I'm being just a little bit, a little bit just contradictory for almost no reason here. But I'm not 100% positive that Russell Wilson's going to be an upgrade. I'm serious. Like, I mean, yeah, he's got the pedigree. He used to be really good. He's not anymore. But you then kind of qualified that with it doesn't really matter who his quarterback is. I do agree with that. I think the guy, like you said, he's destined for 300 to 400 fantasy points this year, no matter who's behind center. I'm not positive Russell Wilson's. I kind of think of him as not much different than Aaron Rodgers, if I'm being honest.
I hate both of them.
Yeah. I hate. They're my two least favorite quarterbacks in the NFL.
I know. To me, though, it's like, okay, Daniel Jones was his best case last year. Like,
right.
Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. If it's a downgrade, it's very minimal, and I don't think it can be.
I'm not saying it's a downgrade. I don't. I'm not like 100% Russell Wilson's better than Daniel Jones right now. I mean, I think Daniel Jones is probably going to be the QB, on his current team before too long.
Maybe. A debate for another day.
Right.
I'm intrigued to know who you would definitely put number 2 behind Nate. Or ultimately, we're talking now. I believe it'd be the wide receiver. So Nabers is my wide receiver 4,
yep.
7th overall pick. The wide receiver 5 after that, again, this is another one where I don't flip-flop on Nabers. He's going to be my wide receiver 4. Right now, I do have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's like the most boring of all these guys.
I love that guy so much.
I love him to death. And it's like the peak fantasy season where it's like you're bored because Amon-Ra's just been so steady and so consistent. We have to find reasons and holes to poke in it. Okay, Ben Johnson's gone, and he was the guy that all slot wide receivers thrive under him. So now he's going to suddenly, Amon-Ra is going to stink. No, there's no way. This guy is too
consistent.
Incredible. Goff is too conservative for 90% of his throws. It's going to be dink and dunk all day long to Amon-Ra. It reminds me, he's kind of like the Kyron Williams of wide receivers, where it's not exciting. No one's going to be like, oh, I have the new breakout here. But you're going to get 140 targets. You're going to get 100+ receptions. You're going to get top 5 yardage, and you're going to be happy. He's going to be very solid all year. Model of consistency. Wide receiver 8, 3, and 3 across his last 3 seasons. He's had 140 targets in all of them, 106 receptions in all 3, number 2 in catches, and top 5 in yards in all of those years as well. Since he became a starter in week 13 of 2021, St. Brown has been a top 12 wide receiver 47% of the time, top 24 in 65% of the games. He only trails Jefferson in consistency over that span while never missing a game besides getting rested in week 18. That's the thing about him is like, he'll have a punctured lung, a broken rib. You don't hear about it. He's not like a diva at all. And then at the end of the year, he's like, oh yeah, I played with like a broken foot all year. That's what I love about him. Like
I will not hear any negative talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's
just bored. That's
he really is. His 100% approval rate for me. I love the guy. I've owned him, I think, 2 of the last 3 seasons in my main league. I could not be a bigger fan. I bought his rookie card on eBay just for fun. I love the guy. And with that said, he's not my next choice.
Great. And that's totally fine. And I think the case against him, which is fair, is like round 1, you want a guy that can potentially wreck fantasy, like 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. And you're not going to get that from Brown. You're going to get 1,400 to 1,500. You're probably going to get 8 to 12. Maybe he blows up for 14 touchdowns. But it is ultimately capped. Like there's only so high he's going to go when there's so many mouths in the Lions offense. When Jahmyr Gibbs, like we were talking about, might be taking in a bit more. That's going to siphon more work away from him. So, yeah, I fully understand if you don't think this guy has that wreck fantasy upside, fine. That's totally a fair argument. I do bank on the – yes. So I'm intrigued to know who your next one is. This is another one, and I know I keep saying I flip-flop, I move around. Like between Nico versus BTJ, I have a very, very hard time. BTJ is kind of like the Jahmyr Gibbs for me, where it's like I have him below Nico.
It's BTJ.
What were you going to say?
It's BTJ.
Yours is BTJ. Okay. So we're aligned there.
Yes, it's BTJ.
I'm trying to do like a truth serum here. Like, who would I really actually take if I had the gun to my head? I had one draft for all the marbles. I probably would put like BTJ above Amon-Ra.
You would.
I'm not gonna
So,
lie.
and I would too. And those two guys, Amon-Ra and BTJ, they're two of my favorite NFL football players. Like they legitimately are. I mean, but your thing is, we talk about the consistency of Amon-Ra, and I feel like when we talk about consistency, it's almost like a bad word in fantasy because it's so unsexy. But I mean, when you're talking about consistency, like 20 points a game, that's pretty effing sexy. But if you're talking, one thing I know about you is you chase the stars. You are an upside whore, and BTJ is that guy.
So, a whore would be putting it lightly, Truth.
Right. No, I know. I'm trying to. It's a family show, but yes. When you made the Jahmyr Gibbs comp, it was funny because I was thinking exactly the same thing. It real easy to talk yourself into BTJ if you like upside, and I know you do.
Absolutely. So I'll lay out the case for Nico first because he typically goes ahead of BTJ. In fact, ESPN leagues, Brian Thomas Jr. falls to like 17 or 18, which is
insane. That's
insane to me. My brothers too, and this is like where we can start even just referencing the running backs. We'll get into the debate there. But like when I showed my brothers the guide, and they were like Brian Thomas over Derrick Henry, over Devon Achane, like over Genty. What are you thinking? Like that's the one that stands out. And to me, like I just feel so good about Brian Thomas.
I mean, I don't. What's their hang up on Brian Thomas Jr.?
They like him. They're like, yeah, we get it. He's a good receiver, but Travis Hunter's now there, and you're not going to take a bell cow running back like you've always been the bell cow guy. And I have, granted, like I do, but the receivers are changing the game. And I talk about this in the guide too. I guess this is a good time to reference the fact that Ryan Heath of Fantasy Points. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I wrote about it in the macro where when you're looking for league-winning wide receivers, I think it's like a whopping 49%. You had to take them in round one or you didn't get one. Like it was pretty much like they almost all came from round one or you missed out. Whereas running backs, you have like round 3, round 7, injury happens, and then round 9 guys blow up. Wide receiver, when that well dries up, and I see it's kind of the guys you see on the screen here. I think once these guys are gone, you can make the case for Drake London as the potential target leader in the NFL as well. He's not in these tiers with these guys too. But other than that, like I cannot see who would be a true league winner outside of these guys right here. And for me, BTJ, if there was one of these guys that like truly did wreck fantasy other than Malik Nabers in this tier, I think BTJ has the best case, even better than Nico, for quite a few reasons. One, we already saw it last year. An insane rookie season, 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns, breaks every Jags franchise record, 14th among wide receivers in targets, but 3rd in yards, 5th in touchdowns, and 4th in fantasy points per game. I mean, incredible efficiency to see the 14th most looks and finish top 5 in every other meaningful category. And then you see the fantasy playoffs. And this is why I know it's so heartbreaking, Truth, that you were like just on the verge of making it. He was the number 1 scorer in fantasy playoffs above Jamar Chase, 32, 28, and 24 points across his 3 games, averaging 28.2 fantasy points per game. We already talked about the best wide receiver season of all time is less than 26 points. This guy went on that insane run. And what was crazy too about all this, and we talk about 14th in targets, BTJ didn't see double-digit targets. He didn't see 10 targets in a game until after the Week 12 bye. Why? I don't know. Made 0 sense. But from that point on, he saw 10 targets in 6 straight games. He topped 85 yards in 5 of those 6 and trailed only Chase in points across those 6 weeks. And as we said, he was even better than Chase in your fantasy playoffs. He averaged, it was a 35% target share over that stretch down the season, which was insane. And I get now that you have Travis Hunter. Can we really bank on those targets? Well, yeah, you removed Evan Ingram, you removed Christian Kirk, who are eating a ton. And who knows, like what if there's defensive injuries and they need to suddenly play Travis Hunter full-time on defense and his offensive role gets eaten into. I love Travis Hunter too.
I don't see any – look, I like Travis Hunter too. Yeah. I don't see any planet, any realistic universe where Travis Hunter is like, a threat to BTJ's fantasy output. I just don't see it at all.
Not at all. And the other thing that I haven't even brought up, so we already had like, okay, if he just kind of starts getting that role we saw for the last from week 12 on, in the fantasy playoffs especially, well, already we've got a league winner there. But then you have Liam Cohen come in, and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans just had career highs in yards per route run under this guy. He is the king of layups. You just see these guys running wide open all the time. in this offense. And he's already come out and said our pass game is going to run through Brian Thomas. And in particular, what I really, really love is he wants to use him out of the slot significantly more. So Brian Thomas ranked 52nd among wide receivers in slot snaps, 25% of the time. He led every single wide receiver in slot touchdowns. He had 7. He was third in yards per route run from the slot. He racked up 546 yards after the catch, wide receiver 4 as well. Again, despite being 52nd among receivers in slot snaps, that should at least double this year under him. He was by far the most efficient guy out of the slot. Liam Cohen is phenomenal at drawing those. I mean, Chris Godwin last year, before he got hurt, was the wide receiver 2 at the end of the season, wide receiver 2 in fantasy points per game as well. And I think Brian Thomas is, I love Chris Godwin. I don't mean to slight the guy, but Brian Thomas is 10,000 times more exciting than him, certainly getting vertical down.
I love this guy. Don't mean to slight him, but Brian Thomas is 10,000 times better. I mean, I agree.
It's true, though. It's just so exciting. Vertical out of the slot, screens out of the slot. Liam Cohen is going to be a true offensive wizard here. The one big valid concern to me, again, you can mention Travis Hunter. I know they know he's the future. I do think he's going to be a good option. He moved in the slot a bit in their first preseason game. He's going to get some looks, but to me, it's one of those things like probably just similar to the Pickens and Lamb thing. How do you double one guy when you have the other guy over there? Who are you going to let beat you type of situation there? So I don't view Travis Hunter as a big concern. My concern is Trevor Lawrence. I don't like Trevor Lawrence.
Sure.
And a lot of those big games came with Mac Jones from by all. Like, how was Mac Jones better for him? I don't know, but he was. And ultimately, I think Trevor Lawrence is soft. He stinks, but he also locks onto his first reads more than any quarterback in the NFL too. And I imagine Brian Thomas under a coordinator like Liam Cohen is going to be the first read in most situations. So to me, with this new slot role, with his proven efficiency, with his just all these, I love Brian Thomas. And if any of these receivers, other than Malik Nabers, who I think is the best bet to break it, well, his teammate Brian Thomas is the second best bet after those first big 3 are off the board to truly wreck fantasy.
And I don't have the stats in front of me to prove this. I'm just going by eye test, but BTJ just has really good hands.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, he pulls in these. It reminds me a little bit of DeAndre Hopkins when I watch him play, just like just pulling in balls that you're just a little bit surprised that he's pulling in. Speaking of good hands, have you seen that Larry Fitzgerald stat that's been floating around recently?
No, what's that?
Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles he had more tackles in his career than drop passes.
That's incredible. I love Larry Fitz.
Isn't that incredible?
So awesome.
Right. I mean, like, probably single digits. Like, I mean, the guy played for like 15 years, right?
Yeah. That's incredible.
Dropped like 7 balls, something like that. Anyway.
Unbelievable. So good. Well, the only guy we haven't talked about, well, there's 2 guys really, but the only other one I actually have ranked in this tier is Nico Collins, which again, pick your flavor of the week because all these guys are so exciting, so good. Yeah, to me, they are above these running backs because of all the upside. And again, the difficulty of finding a true league-winning wide receiver once you're out of round 1, it's very, very hard. And so Nico Collins, he struggled to stay healthy, 15 and 12 games the past 2 seasons, but when on the field, he's been the wide receiver 6 and 7 in points per game. He managed 1,000 yards and 7 TDs in just 12 contests, but it's the per route efficiency that really gets me going. 2.92 yards per route run, wide receiver 3, and then 3.24 wide receiver 2 in yards per route run back-to-back years, which is one of the more predictive and stickier stats out there. Wide receiver 4 in fantasy points per route run, wide receiver 3 in points per target. So it's really just a matter of like when he's out there, he's going to feast. And now you get this new offense. It's Nick Caley coming over from the Rams, and if it's anything like what we've seen from those guys, we see these. They're called kind of McShanahan offenses, where it's McVay or Shanahan. When that tree gets a new branch, if that person's competent at all, like Liam Cohen last year, we often see these wide receivers and quarterbacks really spike in production. So I don't know how good Nick Caley will be. I don't really love C.J. Stroud. I thought he took a huge step back.
I don't either.
Something about it just doesn't feel right to me. His shoulder's still been kind of lingering. And so that's why but I also don't like Trevor Lawrence. So it's like, all right, I'm really going to justify,
that's fair.
Brian Thomas because of Trevor Lawrence. Not really. So it is tricky, but I do think this will be a massive improvement over Bobby Sloat. A lot of those layup opportunities for Nico, who can really just get it done all over the field. They talk about him as like their new Julio Jones, and he really is that, like, long body, but that does it all type of things. So there's really not a ton of holes other than health with Nico Collins. When he's out there, he's going to be a beast. He has missed a handful of guys, though, a handful of games, rather. So to me, again, it's so hard to sift through these guys. The other person that actually is typically at the top of this tier is Puka. And I love Puka Nacua. Don't get me wrong. League winner for when he was a rookie, came in, absolutely smashed. And then last year was actually better when out there. From a week-to-week basis, he had an insane 43.6% target rate when he was on the field. That's like nearly half the throws are going to go to Puka Nacua, and even better with yards per route run. He was the only guy better than Nico Collins, and it was by nearly a yard and a half, 4.07 yards per route run. So insane efficiency, insane target rate when he's out there. Has averaged 15.8 half PPR points in his 28 games when he's played 50% of the snaps. That would have been wide receiver 2 behind only Chase last year. And he's only got a 3.2% touchdown rate. So a lot of meat on the bone if this guy can score more touchdowns. But then I look at what's happened this offseason. One, Davante Adams has joined. Adams has finished third, first, second, and fifth in target share across since 2018. So that's a pretty healthy mouth. I mean, if you told me by the end of the year Davante Adams was their number one wide receiver and Puka took a back seat, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked. Like, it's like, okay, it's Davante Adams. Oh, yeah, sure. I don't expect that, but could it happen? Maybe.
I would be surprised.
I would be very. I'm surprised, but again, like, it wouldn't be, wow, that came out of nowhere. It's Davante Adams. Like, I know he's on the back nine, but this is, again, one of the elite target earners in the league. So immediately, I don't think we can project Puka Nacua for a similar 43.6% target share per route this year. And then you got the injuries. 6 games missed last year. Then he's got a shoulder sprain and rib injury that he gutted it through his rookie season. And then in college, he missed 8 games as well with a bunch of varying ailments. And then you got the real thing that's sketchy for me these days is Matthew Stafford. What is happening? I know he's the kingmaker at wide receiver, but like, he hasn't practiced in weeks. He was supposed to practice yesterday, and instead he's going into this, like, it looks like a science fiction, like, bean pod thing. I don't even know what's going on there. But if he's out, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo's okay. It's one of the maybe better backups in the league, but it's still not your top choice by any means. If Stafford's out there, that really, really hurts Puka Nacua. In my opinion, it hurts Davante Adams as well. So just a lot of risk with Puka Nacua. He's actually outside of not just this tier of wide receivers for me. I don't even have him in round 1 right now.
That's fair. I think.
So you don't have much pushback on that, huh?
No, I really don't. I feel like we've had almost like the same start to every conversation about every single guy on this list because they're all great. We're just like, hey, I'm not throwing any shade at so-and-so. I think he's great. And I feel that way about Puka. But yeah, I don't put him up with those other guys, which is maybe naive of me. I don't know. The guy's incredible. He's proven the doubters wrong time and time again in his young NFL career. But I wouldn't take him over any of those 4 guys that you have in tier C there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even take him over some of these running backs.
No, and there's at least 2 of the running backs I wouldn't take him over either. The one that you're about to put in.
And so, yeah, he's a first-round fade for me, unfortunately. But that's –
if you're doing a snake draft and you can snag Puka early in the 2nd round, you do it.
Oh, of course. I think I have him 13th or 14th overall. Like, he's right there on the cusp. But until I see Stafford fully healthy, it's a very tough argument to convince me of. Otherwise,
you pick late in the 1st round and you snag one of these running backs and then Puka, that's a great start to your team.
Oh, you couldn't ask for better. And that's, I'd love one of these receivers and one of these running backs. I love the bottom of the draft because of that. You can really create some monsters here. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.